All right, welcome to the Wholesaling Secrets podcast here. My name is Jesse. I will be your guest. I've got my first guest here, JC. He is 25 years old and he's been killing it in his local market. We get to talk about his marketing strategy, how he got started, if knowing and having your real estate license is important. And some of the things that he's noticed in general in terms of trends and some of the secrets he's going to reveal on this show. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this episode here with JC. All right, how's it going, everybody? I've got JC here with me. JC, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. I was just asking about your room here. You've got a tweet in the
Yeah.
background. You've got this meme poster on the left. Where are you sitting right now? This is your office, is that right?
Yeah. Sitting in my office in beautiful Fort Collins. I'll spin you around real quick. We got you can kind of see it through the blinds. Beautiful day looking out at the foothills. And so, yeah, this is where the magic happens.
Cool. All right. Well, let's talk about magic. You're, to say the very least, you're in the real estate area, but you do quite a bit. I think first of all, I just want to preface. I think you're at like a pretty young age group. Um, I don't know exactly your age right now, but do you mind sharing that just so that people have context?
You're fine. You're fine. I'm 25, so I'm definitely a little bit younger on the spectrum, but I've met some younger kids even than me out there killing it at 16, 17, 18. So not the oldest, but not the youngest for sure.
Oh, man. Okay. Way to make us feel. I'm turning 40
Right.
next month, and I'm like shaking in my boots right now. Like I still feel like I'm in my 20s. But anyways, I've still got toys here background with me. Oh man. Okay. So tell us, how are you? Well, how did you get into real estate, and tell us where you are today? Give us an understanding of who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a little bit of a funny way I got into real estate. Very, very beginning, I was a COVID graduate. I was in college. I was up at Wyoming pretty briefly playing some football. They sent us home when we were up there playing football and said, "Hey, you'll come back in 2 weeks." That obviously didn't happen. So I said, "You know what? I feel like I'm wasting time sitting around here." My family was living out in Chandler, in the Phoenix area, that is. And home is Colorado. It's always has been. My girlfriend, now wife, lived in Fort Collins. So I said, I'm going to go do that, finish school online. So I quit football, finished school online at Arizona State. So I get in state tuition. So believe it or not, I am a Sun Devil. Um, Graduated there, and I was getting pretty close to the quote unquote graduation, which during COVID, it was all online. I said, well, my degree is in political science and education, and I don't really want to be a teacher. So what else can I do? So I was sitting on the computer one day and I Googled jobs where you can be your own boss and make your own hours. The first thing that came up was real estate agent. I said, okay, I'll do that. So before I graduated, went through the real estate course, which is pretty easy. Got my license and graduated and started selling real estate. Um, from there, I jumped in with a builder. Actually, there was a relationship. I knew nobody in Fort Collins, so I was a little bit stranded, a little bit by myself. So my now wife, then girlfriend, she knew a family. They had a building company of custom kind of boutique builders. They needed help with real estate, and they called it pre-construction or something to that effect. So that's where I got kind of my first taste of Fort Collins construction. Did that, did real estate. I was doing their clients, essentially finding them a house that then the construction company could come in and scrape and build new or do a remodel and addition or whatever they needed to do. It's all very high end stuff. So they'd start, and we have higher price points here. So they'd buy something for, I don't know, 500 to 700, then they go and put 1 million into it or something like that. Um, so I started doing that. Then I had the realization, oh, all the money's in the real estate. I was seeing the commission checks come in. I was getting a little small sliver of those. I said, well, why don't I just go do that? Jumped into real estate full time. The young male ego is a very arrogant thing. And so I saw the builders building houses and said, well, that's not that hard. I can do it. So I started flipping houses. From flipping houses, I'm not a great flipper. I still do more flips than I care to admit. But that being said, there are a lot of people that are a lot better than me at it. So from there, I saw where I was buying the deals from, the wholesalers, and I saw how much the wholesalers were making all these deals, and they were making just as much, not more than me, and they never had to touch the house. So I said, why don't I just go do that? If you don't have to touch the house, you can pick the best deals you want to keep. that's when I started getting into wholesale. Um, yeah, and then it's just kind of taken off from there.
How many years ago was that?
I started, shoot, we're almost to 5 years now. So I
Oh, I guess
was
so. Yeah, you
around
mentioned
licensed when I
COVID.
was 20,
Wow. Okay. Now,
19, take it back, 19.
okay. Now, for some of those that are newer to real estate, can you
Mhm.
briefly explain the difference between wholesaling and flipping?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so wholesaling is the simplest way in my mind to explain it. Wholesaling, you're flipping paper. So you're selling your equitable interest, you're selling your contract, you're selling your position in a contract. A lot of people say it differently. Jerry Norton has a lot of good stuff on it. But wholesaling is when you're taking your position in a contract and then you're making some sort of fee or markup, whether it be assigning it or double closing for the position in the contract to have who then a flipper usually or a buyer holder or different investor take over your position, actually fund and close that contract. Then they take the house, and then that's when flipping comes in. They either fix and flip it, so they actually put up the money, buy the home, make whatever improvements they feel necessary for houses, that is, or it can be multifamily. There's a lot of different ways to skin that cat. But they come in, they add value, whatever that value is, whether it be remodeling, adding beds and baths, addition. There's, like I said, a million different ways to flip. So they come in, they do the project, and typically, at least where I am, we have a lot of fix and flippers. We don't really have a ton of buy and holders out here just because our price points are so high and our rents haven't caught up. So most of the time they're selling it and that's how they exit.
I come from a land background. I actually started wholesaling and had no success. I had no idea what I was doing. I was a Canadian and trying to do
Sure.
it out there. And we tried flipping too, and
Mhm.
goodness, it was a mess. And I have a whole story behind that, and then got into land and wholesaling land and whatnot. But interesting, you started off with a real estate agent sort of background. Is that
Sure.
needed? Did that, let me ask you this, did it serve as an advantage for you? I mean, the timeline was so short, it sounded like,
Mhm.
from figuring out real estate to flipping to wholesaling. What's the time span there? 3 years?
Give or take, yeah.
Yeah. And then did you see there was an advantage? Because there a lot of people kind of go through that path of getting their license, and then they end up flipping or wholesaling. And
Mhm.
was there, did you feel there was an advantage for you to go through that path? And if so, why?
For me personally, yes, there was. I was so young and I wasn't, when I started in real estate, I'd never bought a house, never sold a house. I knew nothing. So for me to be able to get in and do some what I always call them quote unquote retail. There's retail transactions, there's wholesale transactions. So to do some retail transactions and actually learn how to transact, learn the lingo, learn the right and wrong way to do things. That's a big knock on wholesalers in general is, oh, they're shady, fly by night, they don't know real estate, whatever it might be. Maybe it's true. I hope it's not. But that's the knock on wholesalers. So for me to be able to come in, get the license, learn how to actually transact, learn how to write a contract properly, learn how to negotiate, just very basic skills, tremendously helpful for me. That being said, I have people on my team now that are not licensed and they're just as capable as me. And there's definitely pros and cons to having a license. So for me, it was a positive. It's not necessary in my opinion, though.
Well, you said it was easy, okay, and I get it. It gave you a great foundation, and
Mhm.
helped you learn the lingo, which I think like serves actually a lot and does fast track you
Mhm.
pretty quickly.
Mhm.
Because I mean, like you're basically following a curriculum. So like,
Right.
what's the time investment in that, and what's the monetary investment? Is like for some people, maybe it is worth it to kind of feel more confident to speak that lingo and understand that world.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. It's for some people it is worth it because you also have, of course, a license, so then you can go and sell things or list things or whatever it is, and that's an additional exit. So that's and not pay the commissions, of course. So that can be a tool and tool belt. As far as time and monetary investment, it's pretty minimal. I always tell people you just have to have two functioning brain cells, and I think $500 to have a real estate license, and you're good to go. So it's, I mean, I want to say the Colorado requirements, it's 168 hours of education, which is a van ed course online. You just click through it, and then yeah, it's somewhere around like $500 or something like that. It's pretty cheap.
Okay. All right. So for those of you guys listening, maybe something you want to consider. Um,
Yeah.
So fast tracking to now, what do things look like? You mentioned you have a team. How big does that look like? Who? Tell us the different roles on your team, and try not to overload us here with that.
I'll go slow. Please cut me off at any point because I have a tendency to talk too much. So now what this has transformed into now was something that was long ago vision for me. So I actually, there's a few businesses being run out of the office I'm in right now. We have the wholesaling business. I have a real estate brokerage. I have a property management company. I have a construction company, and then we also do some hard money lending. So theoretically, 5 businesses under one roof. Um, as far as the wholesaling, because that's obviously what we're talking about, what that team looks like, I think we have a total of 8. One's part time on it. They're all in house. I don't have any VAs. Everyone, which call me traditional or whatever you want to call me, but everyone is in the office. They're not right this second, but everyone is in the office on a weekly basis, if not daily basis. What it actually looks like in terms of heads, we have kind of TC. She's my TC, kind of a life assistant. She does everything for me. She's amazing. We have her. We have a social media guy who does social media marketing, Google reviews, that type of stuff. We have him. We have acquisitions gal. We have a dispositions guy. We have myself. Um, and then we have another part-timer, kind of assistant coordinator, if you will. They kind of coordinate the deals, paperwork, our Google Drive, our platforms, things like that. So I lied to you. It's not quite 8, it's 6. We have a few other people who come in and help from time to time, but that's really the core of the team, I'd say.
I try to stay away from acronyms here. You said TC; those are transaction coordinators. Is that right?
Right. Yep.
What I mean,
Exactly.
what's the difference between a transaction coordinator and somebody who's working on acquisitions and somebody working on disposition? Why do you have a transaction coordinator? What do they do?
Great question. I had this realization probably about a year ago now. I'll answer. Actually, I'm going to answer your question with a question, Jesse. So, in your business, is your time best spent going out, meeting with people, talking to people, running numbers, or is it best spent writing contracts, talking to the title company, coordinating closings, and all of the paperwork minutia?
Right. Oh, I mean, the first, the first one, I would assume.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I thought. And so before I had the wrong mindset. My mindset was, well, why would I pay somebody to do something that I can already do pretty subconsciously? It needed to, and it did shift to have a transaction coordinator, that TC I mentioned. Well, that's actually going to free up so many hours of time for me to go out and do what I would call higher value tasks. And it's not that she's not a valuable part of our team. She's extremely valuable, and I couldn't do my job without her. That being said, though, my time is better spent going out and doing what everyone loves, the buzzword right now, income producing activities, which for me is talking to people and negotiating.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's awesome. So you've got 2 transaction coordinators, and then, I mean, you've got a lot of deals that are happening. Now, this entire team, the 6, the 8, or whatever, are they also
Mhm.
involved in the other sort of businesses that you mentioned? You've got the wholesaling operation, which is, I think, I
Mhm.
would assume, the bulk of everything. You've got a real estate brokerage. You've got a
Mhm.
property management company, and
Yeah,
I want to talk about each one of these: construction company and a hard money lending company. So, like, but most of your team are working on that wholesaling. Are there other people that are they also involved with the other sort of operations?
the wholesaling operation is unique because the wholesaling people, that team, they stay in their little bubble. So the wholesalers kind of keep themselves because it's it's chaos. It's controlled chaos, but it's chaos. All the other businesses, and they mingle with each other. So if we're doing a fix and flip, or if there's a deal we get that I really want to take down, or someone on the team wants to take down, that's when we bring in the construction side. So they do cross pollinate a little bit, but I'd say 90 to 95% of the time, the wholesaling team just sticks to themselves because it's completely different than pretty much everything else we're doing.
I love it. Um, can I ask you, like, why? Why have 5 entities, JC? Like, you're
I ask myself that question a lot.
you
Um,
like that pain. You like that kind of pain, hey?
yeah, it's a different breed. No, where it really comes from is when I was getting started in the business. I was 19 when I got my license. I'm 99.9% sure because yeah, I closed my first deal right after I turned 20, so I was 19. And I remember starting out in the business from day one. It seemed like there wasn't really a space for young people. It was kind of the good old boys club, and maybe that's just my market. But to me, in general, real estate's a lot of the good old boys club. Um, and so my attitude was, well, why not create a one-stop shop where any sort of real estate investment or any sort of real estate opportunity can be realized by quite literally anyone, whether you're a part of the good old boys club or you're brand new to real estate. We're doing a deal right now with a guy. never touched real estate, doesn't know a thing about it, but we're going to help him through his first fix and flip between doing the loan, finding him the property, hiring the construction company. He might keep it as a rental or an Airbnb. He might flip it and sell it so we can list it, we can manage it for him. So that was a core idea, and I'd never seen it done. Is I wanted to create a one-stop shop, all opportunities, all things real estate. You can come to one place and get it done. Because more from the traditional real estate side, you're always referring it out, and so from a monetary perspective, it can be seen as a loss. I just see it more so as I can just recapture more of my profit, not just a commission through these other businesses. And then in addition to that, I can stay involved with the deal longer, better client retention. So for me, there was a lot of upside in it. And of course, the biggest bottom line, which I already said, giving everyone any sort of real estate opportunity they want between, I mean, you name it, you can do it here.
Yeah. So you're like vertically integrating everything into one place. And I mean, I guess you expand on your revenue with that as well, which is great. You have existing relationships, further relationships get developed that way. That's awesome. Although I would imagine that's a lot that goes on. So you've got a team with the wholesaling side of things. You also have a team with the other side of things as well, I'm assuming, or is that sort of something you're slowly building out?
No, it's a we're definitely still building, but it's built out and they're all functioning. I'm a pretty lean and mean guy. So on which one do you want me going first? How about that?
Whichever one you want.
I'll do property management because I don't like property management, but to me, it's a necessary evil of the business. It's just a thankless job. Um, the property management is there is a gal who pretty much runs the company. I do a lot of the client communications just because a lot of them are investors and they want to know, hey, what are you doing for deals? What do you see in the market? Things like that. So I do a lot of the communication with clients, but she handles everything else and she's amazing. She's just got a heart for it. And property management is just a thankless job. And frankly, there's not a ton of money in it, in my opinion. Um, you're very limited. And so you can only do it to a certain level. You can only manage so many doors with so many people. And it's really hard to find good property managers, frankly. And so finding someone who cares, capable, the whole nine yards. I found it in her. And again, she's unbelievable and she just has the heart for it. But it's just her and I right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now, in terms of other people on your team, that's on the property management side of things. But like, say
Mhm.
things like construction company and your hard money lending. I'm assuming you also have other people pulled into those entities as well.
Correct, correct. So the construction company is a partnership between me and another guy that I worked with in town. We do a decent amount of client projects, but a lot of it is my own projects, spec builds. We're building a house outside of town right now for a client. We're doing some basement finishes, some pretty big remodels, but we're not a huge construction company by any stretch of the imagination. And then, of course, a lot of my projects, we in-house manage all of my own projects too. Um, so that's just him and I right now. He carries a lot of the weight. Well, you'll probably see a common theme throughout a lot of these businesses is a lot of other people are carrying the weight for me. Um, I can jump in and out of all of these, but I mean, if you're running five businesses at once, and then I'm not one of them is going to get 100% of your attention 100% of the time. So I have great operators and partners and all these things.
I
Um,
mean, you mentioned it here, and I'm going to cut in here. You mentioned
Please,
you've got great operators. How did you find them?
I just got lucky. I didn't seek one of them out, believe it or not. All of these people are either pre-existing relationships. They are people that I've known just through doing other deals, through getting connected through other investors. It all stems from real estate at the core. So whether it be, hey, I was doing a fix and flip project and I need somebody to help me with X, Y, and Z. That's how I got connected to my construction guy. Property manager, same thing. Do you know any good property managers in town? I kept getting referred. So okay, well then she must be good. Let's chat with her. So yeah, all these people are just kind of through my sphere. Probably the best way to say it.
Okay, I want to come back to the wholesaling side of things. You mentioned
Please.
it earlier. It's sort of controlled chaos. I come
Yes.
from a background of helping wholesalers and flippers, and I come from that background as well to get organized and streamlined. Help me understand. What is it that is messy for you guys? Is it the communication, the amount of paperwork, just the timelines? What is it, or everything?
it's it's probably all the above, to be honest with you. It's making sure I'll use an analogy here. I love analogies. The analogy is to the buyers who are buying the wholesale deals and to the sellers who are contracted with. We have to look like a duck, is what I always tell people. So we're on the surface, just floating along, calm and collected, doing our thing. You don't think twice about it, but under the surface, you're just frantically paddling, trying to stay afloat, move, go different directions, zig and zag. So the reason why I say it's chaos is because there's just so many things that are constantly happening, whether it be, hey, I need a wire sent for earnest money. Hey, we need to fund this deal. Hey, I need this amendment written. Um, we're not we're not super high volume in my opinion when it comes to wholesaling. We're not low volume, but we're somewhere in the happy medium, doing 3 to 6, 3 to 8 deals a month, depending on what season it is. Um, and so with that, there's a lot of things that happen in a real estate transaction, and there's always, no matter how much you think that things are going to go just according to plan and be an easy transaction, there's no such thing. There's always going to be some issue that you have to figure out how to solve. And so with the amount of transactions we're doing, with the type of business we want to run, and make sure it's very professional and streamlined and kind of to the point with buyers, because that's a reason, and I don't want to go too far into this unless you want to. You're you're only, in my opinion, this is strictly my opinion, but you're only as good as your buyers. And so if you have no buyers who want to buy from you because they think you do a terrible job, or you lie to them, or you don't know what you're doing, or you don't know how to manage a transaction, well, they're not going to buy from you. So who are you going to be able to sell the deals to if you don't have any buyers? So we're very, very focused on making sure that, one, on the front side of things, proper expectations are set, proper timelines are set. Um, Everything is as close to perfect as we can get it when we're meeting with sellers and getting the actual property contracted. And then from time of contract to the time we're actually assigning or we're double closing the property to our buyers, we want both of those things to be very smooth. That was the easiest transaction I've ever had, is the reaction I want from both buyer and seller when they walk away at the closing table. In the middle, we want to take on all the chaos and the moving pieces and the quote unquote issues that always seem to come up in every transaction.
That duck analogy really resonates now that you say it, and you probably have to be as sharp as you to make sure to keep everything smooth there.
Absolutely.
Um, yeah, no, I appreciate that. Let me ask you this:
Mhm.
what is your, would you say, is the most effective marketing channel for finding deals, whether wholesaling or flipping? Well,
Mhm.
and then maybe you've got a multiple and you can rank them, or you have one that really stands out.
For me, the one I would say that stands out the most is PPC. I have a phenomenal PPC provider. They do a really, really nice job. They're in my account every day. We're having conversations at least once a week, if not more. Lately, it's been a lot more than once a week. And so PPC has been great for us. We've been getting, I think we're at a 8 point, I can pull it up here in a minute, but it's like an 8.34 return for every dollar we spend on PPC. So PPC has been awesome to us. As of lately, though, and this is what happens, this has been one of my issues, is that we've gone so heavy into PPC that we've kind of become a one trick pony. We shut down or slowed dramatically down on all of our other marketing channels. So we're very reliant on PPC. Well, Google's changing things constantly, whether it be the algorithm, your ads, what they're looking for, what they don't want. So if you have a bad month in PPC, well, the business now has a bad month if you're a one trick pony. So to answer your question, PPC has been the best for us historically. That being said, we've had one or two off months as of recently. And so we're kind of pushing back into getting more into direct mail, more into SEO. Um, I've I've always been a really big believer in inbound leads versus outbound leads. I like when people are coming to me saying, "Hey, I want an offer," which direct mail isn't necessarily that. Direct mail is kind of a hybrid of, you're going out and seeing who wants an offer, and then from there they're actually reaching out to you. So it's a little bit in between. But I've always just found that my lead quality is significantly better if it's an inbound versus outbound lead.
All right, so you heard it from JC here. He's doing and exploring other marketing methods. And I think that is so important to not be that one trick pony, as he mentioned with PPC. And now he's dabbling more into direct mailing, cold calling as well as another big one. You need to have an understanding of your marketing channels and get those all organized. This is a huge marketing game. And that's what Pebble is all about. We're here to streamline your marketing, track your marketing, and track the performances of every channel. As you heard with JC here, he spent a lot on PPC, but now again wants to continue to scale up other channels. When it comes to tracking your marketing, tracking the property records, knowing what channels went through for each property, doing your due diligence, generating documents. As you heard, it's sort of controlled chaos here with paperwork and whatnot. We simplify all of that inside of Pebble. Actually, behind the show, we talked about how a lot of wholesalers are trying to use Salesforce and how insanely crazy it is to try to use Salesforce because you need an engineering team, and it frankly, you're only going to be using probably only 5% of the features within Salesforce. And this is what Pebble is all about. We've come from a real estate investing background to build a platform like this to keep things simple so your team can move quickly. Anyways, if you're interested in learning more about Pebble, head over to pebblerei.com. There's a book a demo button there. We can hop on a call. We can share a little bit more of how you're going to be able to fully utilize Pebble when it comes to lead follow-up, automations, phone call, texting, all of that in one platform. Anyways, enjoy the rest of this episode here with JC. And I appreciate you being transparent about that. It's sometimes people listen to shows like this and then they get drawn by the shiny ball syndrome. Oh my gosh, JC said PPC. And by the way, again, I'm trying to stay away from acronyms, pay per click. So I guess like online ads type of thing. Now, and I appreciate you being very transparent about that. It's definitely sometimes like on these shows, it's like, oh, everything sounds like, wow, JC's just doing everything right and he's just killing it. And so I appreciate that. And you mentioned direct mailing. That's something I'm very familiar with. And one of the great things about we see with direct mail is there's sort of a good amount of intent there, better than some other things like texting and whatnot. And SEO is obviously sort of an inbound strategy as well, but that's sort of a long tail kind of a game. So that's really interesting to hear. Now, what about for somebody that is starting out? Like, okay, I don't have a budget for PPC, and I don't have budget. I don't know who. Where would you start? I mean, what have you done in the past? If you couldn't do PPC, could you do to start quickly to try to get some leads in?
If somebody said, JC, go to Minneapolis, Minnesota and go find a deal today, I would door knock. That's going to be, because I'm just a very visual person, as I think a lot of, especially males are. We're very visual beings. So you can that's the easiest thing. You can visually see distress. So you're obviously looking for distressed properties, lands, sellers, whatever you're looking for distress at the end of the day, because those are people that are willing to take a discount. Therefore, you can make the wholesale fee. So in my mind, door knocking, I used to door knock. I still will occasionally go out and door knock. Door knocking is fantastic, and there's almost no investment into it. You just grab a thing of sticky notes, you get your pen. I have mine right here, and I have a sticky note somewhere around here. I have a question about your house, stick it on the door, put your phone number, put a Google Voice number, whatever works for you. You stick it on their door. So I love door knocking. I love cold calling. I got started in the business by cold calling myself. I would hand dial numbers. I would go on white pages, which come to find out it's like the most expensive way to skip trace people ever. Go on white pages. I would drive for dollars, get my list, type in the addresses or numbers, or go on public records, whatever that looked like. I'd skip trace them. I call them on my cell phone, and that's how I got my first, I think, 3 deals. So cold calling still works. Everyone wants to knock it, but cold calling definitely still works. And so if I was low budget, I had time, I would go door knock and cold call for sure.
Awesome. If you could go back and sort of tell yourself something or give yourself a piece of advice as you were getting started, what would you tell yourself?
Well, that's a great question. What would I tell myself as I was getting started? That's a really good question. I would say, I don't know, probably the biggest takeaway would be you got to invest in yourself. Super cliche. You hear it all the time. You see it on social media, podcasts, you see it everywhere. And so you need to take time for yourself or invest for yourself. And I've never been that type of person. I find a lot more value personally in pouring into other people and trying to empower other people to get where they want to go. That's where I get my biggest sense of satisfaction. That being said, though, I'd say probably within about the last year and a half, between education, between coaching programs, things along those lines, I've gotten a ton of value out of that, and it's it's definitely still a self-serving model, to be honest with you. Of if I'm able to show up better for my team, my family, my friends, whatever it is that you're surrounded by, if you can show up better for them, well, then they're going to be able to show up better for the sellers or for their appointments or for whatever they're doing. So you're only as good as your weakest link, but you have to think about that internally too. Is that if your mindset, if your head, if your skill set, whatever that is, if it's at not the highest level it probably should be, it's worth it to invest into yourself, into a coaching program, into reaching out to people and figuring out how to take that next step and level up. Because the whole idea of, and this is another cliche, if you will, but the whole idea of you think so big and you think that's the biggest you can get, whether it be getting a, I'll use money because that's just an easy number, getting a check for $1,000 assignment fee. Oh my gosh, my mind's blown. To then a $10,000 assignment fee, your mind's blown again to 50 to 100 to a million. Um, you constantly have to be able to expand your mind because at the end of the day, frankly, this is not a super challenging business. It's hard to find leads. It's hard to stay consistent. But at the end of the day, if you're willing to stay in it, if you're willing to keep picking up the phone, if that's what you're doing, if you're willing to keep investing into whatever marketing channel that works for you, it's going to work out. You just have to keep showing up. You have to keep educating yourself. You have to keep leveling up and expanding that mindset of what's actually possible in my mind.
Man, that's like the hardest thing, as somebody's getting started. Cause I remember my early days, it's like
Mhm.
finding that, like, to stay consistent with no result is tough. And like you,
Right.
you wonder, like, how much longer do I have to hang in there for? It's definitely a tough one, and there's no answer to this. I feel like there's no answer to this. Some I've had people on here that took them 2 years to finally get their momentum going.
Yep.
It took you a little bit less, and you're telling me there's younger kids that are taking even less and doing it
Yeah.
at a younger age. So
Mhm.
it's incredible to hear that. All right,
Yeah.
I've got two more questions here for you.
Please.
There's the word secrets in this podcast title. So I want to know, is there something that you're paying attention that you're noticing, or is there, I don't want to say it's a secret or anything. Obviously you
Sure.
can share it, but is there something that, in general that you're noticing, or maybe that you're doing specifically or uniquely that is working for you? You did mention PPC. So anything else?
What I'm really paying attention to, and this is probably my I, secret to stretch, but my secret, if you will, is I am a huge believer, might be the right word, of where we're going as a society. We're going, in my opinion, we're going as a society towards AI, easy technology, integrating all of that, and everyone has their own belief on what that looks like, and I don't have the answer. With that being said, I am seeing a theme of we're trending towards technology, simpler, easier, faster. So if we're trending to a simpler, easier, faster society, okay, how does real estate fit into that? Because technology and real estate, I mean, there's some kind of cross pollination, but not a ton. So where I see real estate going, in my opinion, is I think the Zillows, the Realtor.coms, the Redfins, they're going to more or less kind of take over the real estate market because people want that. That's what it seems to me like the market is demanding is faster, simpler, easier, all on your phone, less human interaction. So for real estate, how can I still make money? How can I still run a business? How can I still be involved in it if the job of being a realtor or on the contrary, being an investor is going to just go to your phone. And so for me, to long answer your question, but to get to the point, where I see things going is you have to be hyper local, have a ton of local knowledge, and be really good in your backyard. Of I know this market trend, I know this person, I know how to connect the dots. Relationships is kind of the theme of that is relationships and who you know. I think it's going to become even just massively more valuable because there's always going to be a certain level of people who want the human interaction, who want um, someone local. And I see that, and again, you're just getting my opinion. I think for people who are virtual and with the laws that are changing in real estate and technology being integrated, virtual wholesaling where you're not in your backyard, in my opinion, is going to get harder. So where I'm going is I'm diving deeper into my local markets. I'm expanding a little bit, but I'm still staying in a pretty tight bubble and being very hyper local. Of you can give me a street address where I'm at in Fort Collins, and I can probably tell you what the ARV is without saying anything about it. And I think that skill set is going to have much, much more value in the future than it might have right now.
I am going to further that even more. I am 100% a believer of that. I feel like human interaction, relationships are just going to become more and more valuable.
Mhm.
Just like you said, I think people are just going to be hypersensitive to what's AI or what's, I guess you could say, fake. And although yes. There may be people who are looking for that convenience, but I think it like you said, I feel like people are just going to become more valuable.
Mhm.
Some of the things that we do as humans, the relationships, it's just going to skyrocket that value. And it's funny you bring up like you knowing your backyard even better. On the Land Investing Business Secrets podcast, we talk. My last few guests are the same thing. Like we've honed down into the area that we just work out of.
Mhm.
We have real relationships. That's where they're finding the success now. So it's really interesting to hear that as well from yourself, JC. All right. Well, I really appreciate that. One last question here, JC. I love throwing this one out there, but if there's somebody I can bring onto this podcast, who would it be and why?
One person on the podcast. Shoot. Have you had Brent on? Brent Daniels?
No, I haven't.
I
But I
can
have
connect.
his, I'm on the Wholesaling Inc. podcast after this with Brent Bowers, but I
There you go.
haven't had Brent Daniels on before, so maybe I should talk to him.
The other Brent, yes. I would say Brent Daniels. He is. There's a lot of people in the real estate education space, obviously. Between there's Jerry, there's Jamil, there's Brent, there's Pace, there's all these guys, and there's Brent Bowers too, of course. More in the land space, obviously, but Brent is as real as it gets, and that's what I like most about him, honestly. He is all. He's not the all talk, no walk. I mean, he walks the walk. He's in the business. Um, he's. I'd get him, and I'd see too. This would be a really interesting guest, and probably a little different than you've had before. But the guy who runs his PPC, pay per click, I'll stop using acronyms, his pay per click agency, um, he would be amazing to have on to go into, in my opinion, to go into the depths of, oh, this is how Google works and this is what trend we're seeing, because he's going to see not necessarily a real estate perspective, but more of a technology and what works and what doesn't from a marketing perspective, which is a huge hurdle a lot of people got to overcome. So I'd say, and his name's Jessey. So I'd have Brent and or Jessey on because I think they're just wealth of knowledge.
I appreciate that. Well, hey, JC, it's been awesome having you on here. Thanks for sharing us with your insight, being transparent about your business, and wishing you the best of luck. I'd love to keep in touch with you. Would love to talk to you a little bit more behind the scenes, but thanks for coming on the show again.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you for the invite. Yeah, we're gonna be here. So anytime anybody needs anything, anybody's always welcome to reach out to me. As you can probably pick up from this conversation, I have tons of words and I love using them. So I'll talk your ear off. So yeah, reach out to me. Would love to continue the conversation, and yeah, really appreciate you having me on and giving me the opportunity.
Before I wrap up, actually, I completely forgot. If people want to engage with you, work with you, find you, where's the best way to find you, JC?
Social media, email me, whatever works. Social media. Whoa, what am I on social media? I don't run my social media account, so I honestly don't know the names. I know for sure one of my accounts is Joe Homebuyer Colorado. That's one word. On Facebook, it's just my name, just JC Coulter. You can message me there. You can reach out to me. I check those probably once a day, my Facebook messages, and then Instagram messages. I have a guy who sends them to me if I need to reply to them. So yeah, reach out. I'd love to work with anybody. I'd love to get some more land perspective. I'm not as well versed in that. So yeah, love to chat.
Awesome. All right. Thanks again, JC, and I'll talk to you soon.
Appreciate it. Thank you.